"Listen to me, you prostitute," Mangozi shouted. "Stay away from my husband. I said stay away from my husband." Norma folded her arms, tilted her head, and replied, "I would, but unfortunately, he comes here by himself, at night, quietly, wearing the same wrapper you tied down. Very embarrassing fashion choice, by the way." Once upon a time, in the lively and troublesome village of Umweri, where gossip flew faster than pigeons and everybody knew everybody's story, there lived a maiden whose name alone could scatter peace. Her name was Norma. Now, besties, Umweri was a village that woke up with noise and slept with noise. The market women argued louder than the goats they were trying to sell. The elders coughed wisdom into every conversation, whether you asked for it or not, and the children ran around like wind without direction. But among all these characters, no one caused more shaking heads, widening of eyes, and unnecessary throat clearing than Norma. Ah, Norma. She was beautiful, too beautiful. The kind of beautiful that made even the sun say, "Let me shine small before this girl embarrasses me." Dark-skinned, tall, beautifully shaped, with a skin that glowed like melted caramel. But the villagers never called her beautiful. They hated her so much that the very sound of her name irritated them. And they didn't hide the fact that they hated her. They called her all sorts of terrible things, such as public toilets, the shame of Umweri, a disgrace to womanhood, Apona, meaning prostitutes. Women spat when she passed by, long dramatic spits that seemed to come from their ancestors. Some spat once, others spat twice. A few spat so enthusiastically that you would think Norma personally collected their bride price and ran away with it. Whispers flew around like arrows whenever she walked by, and they didn't care if she heard it or not. Look at her, a Ekwensu, devil, so fine but full of evil. I wonder why a maiden as beautiful as this would decide to live off people's husbands. This girl is such a disgrace to womanhood. To Fiakwa, they would spit, flipping their fingers as if she were an abomination. Norma heard it all. Yes, she heard the whispers each time she passed, yet she didn't flinch. She never paused to wipe her face or even stopped to warn or caution them. No, they were the least of her worries, and she didn't give a damn about them. She would simply raise her shoulders, pout her lips, and walk past like a queen who came from a land far above their nose. And most times, she left her mockers stunned as they stared at her. Why? Because Norma never carried last. Her wrappers was always fine, her beads always bright, her hair always neatly braided and packed. And oh, before I forget, she smelled heavenly. Her wealthy customers always bought her costly fragrance oil that would make you want to eat her raw if she walked past you. Norma was the queen of her own kingdom. She lived in a small hut at the far end of the village, sitting quietly where the road bends towards the forest. At night, shadows moved near her door. By shadows, I mean wealthy men, influential men, married men, who carried big titles in meetings, but walked like frightened goats towards her hut when the moon rose. She charged them well, and they paid well. The next morning, they left acting like strangers who did not even know her name. But Norma never cared for their secrecy or shame. She had swallowed fire long ago. Now she exhaled smoke in peace. Yes, she was a prostitute, a proud one at that. When she walked through Umweri, her hips swayed confidently, her anklets jingling like a warning bell to jealous hearts. She looked like a goddess the villagers wished they could worship without guilt. But her eyes, those eyes were a battlefield. They held thunder, they held bitterness, they held wounds she would never show. They held the quiet rage of someone who learned early that the world does not rescue girls like her. Her heart was cold as ice, not from birth, but from experience, from the kind of pain that cracks the softest bone and rebuilds it with iron. No one knew her full story, not like they cared. Not the women who hissed and muttered evil prayers when she passed. Not the men who condemned her with their mouths, but couldn't wait to have a taste of her honey pot every night. Now, besties, I know you may be wondering why Norma acted like she did. Here is a back story. Once upon a time, besties, before Norma became the fierce storm that Umweri feared, she was just a small, quiet girl with big, hopeful eyes. A little girl who believed the world was warm. A little girl who thought love was real. A little girl who trusted too easily. But life tore those beliefs from her tiny hands. Her mother was all she had. Her mother was her sun, her moon, her only shield. A single mother who worked tirelessly to give her daughter a simple life. But sickness came like a thief in the night, and death followed without apology. Norma was only 7. Her father, that one vanished even before she was born. So when her mother died, Norma became a wandering question. Who would take her in? Who would feed her? Who would protect her? The villagers shouted and abused her uncle Jehu, calling him wicked, heartless, shameless, irresponsible. How can your own blood be begging for home, they yelled. Is it not your late sister's child? Will you let her die on the streets like a chicken? Embarrassed and insulted into compassion, Jehu finally agreed. He took her in, or rather, he took her under. Yes, besties, under his roof, under his authority, under his cruelty. Jehu was a wealthy yam farmer, proud and full of himself. His compound was large, filled with barns that touched the sky, goats that strutted about like queens, and children who played freely with clean faces and full bellies. His daughters were treated like princesses, braided hair every weekend, shiny shoes for school, perfumed wrapper, sweet things to chew. But the moment little Norma stepped foot into that compound, Jehu and his wife turned her into something else entirely, a slave. With her thin little hands, she swept the compound from one end to another, washed piles of clothes taller than she was, fetched water, followed the farm workers to farm every single day, cleaned, and at night she slept in the animal pen. Yes, you heard that correctly, the animal pen. That is where children like you belong, Jehu's wife always said with a wicked smile. If Norma looked tired, she was beaten. If she slowed down, she was beaten. If she cried, she was beaten. Rest did not exist where she was. Comfort did not exist. Love, my dear, that one was a foreign language. Nobody cared about her feelings, about her tears, about her bruises. While Jehu's children lived like royalty, Norma lived like a forgotten shadow. From childhood, She knew pain the way a farmer knows soil. Her days were filled with tears, so constant that her eyes almost forgot how to stay dry. But the strangest, most bewildering thing happened as she grew. Despite the cruelty, despite the hunger, despite the suffering, despite the hardship, her beauty bloomed. Norma transformed into a stunning young maiden. Her skin glowed like warm honey. Her eyes sparkled like the morning star. Her shape softened and curved into womanhood in a way that made even the sun stay longer than needed. And Jeku noticed, yes, the yam farmer himself. He noticed how workers looked at her. He noticed how wealthy customers swallowed saliva whenever she came to serve palm wine. He noticed the silent admiration that followed her like a second shadow. And then something evil woke up inside him. Something twisted. Something he should never have felt towards a child he raised. A pang of jealousy. A hunger and desire that had no name. A wicked thought that grew every time he looked at her. He began to treat her differently. He bought her small gifts from the market. Roasted meat, new wrappers, pretty beads, smiles instead of shouts. Norma did not understand what was happening. Should she be happy? Should she be scared? His family still hated her, but she told herself, at least her uncle is now kind. Maybe he has changed. He even gave her a small hut of her own. At that time, she was 15. She thought maybe life was finally softening. Until that night. That quiet, silent night, when even the crickets paused their singing. Norma heard her door creak softly. She sat up immediately, fear crawling through her bones. In the dim light, she saw him, Jehu, her uncle, smiling. A smile that did not reach his eyes, a smile that turned her blood cold. "Uncle, you," she whispered. He lifted one hand to his lips. "Shh. If you shout, I will kill you." Then he brought out a shiny knife. Her body shook violently. Her legs felt weak. Her voice died in her throat. What was he going to do to her? As if reading her thoughts, he leaned in and whispered, "I am just here to play with you. If you cooperate, we will both enjoy ourselves. But if you don't," he smiled wider, "you will regret it." Before she could move, he pushed her onto the mat. Her heart stopped. Her breath vanished. "Please, uncle, you can't do this. You are mine." Her words disappeared under the weight of his large palm covering her mouth. That night, he had his way with her. While she whimpered into the night that refused to save her. When he was done, he stood up, adjusted himself and stared at her like she was dirt on his slippers. "No one must hear this," he threatened. "If you talk, you are finished." He walked away casually. Norma lay trembling, broken, bleeding inside, her eyes wide with horror. The next day, she limped through chores, tears running down her cheeks, but nobody cared. Nobody even asked what was wrong with her. As long as she served them, they were very okay. If she liked, she may cry blood. And that night was not the only night. Night after night, Jeku still came. A few years passed, and Norma's beauty exploded like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Kai, if you saw her at 17, your mouth would open on its own. Her beauty had become the talk of Omuri, not just talk, gossip that traveled faster than lightning. Whenever she walked past, people stared without shame. Men pretended not to look. then looked again. Women sucked their teeth loudly and muttered under their breath. Children pointed. Even the wind seemed to pause when she passed. And in the center of all this unwanted attention stood Jeku's customers, those wealthy yam buyers who visited almost daily. Whenever Norma came to pour them palm wine, their eyes followed her shamelessly, from her breast to her waist to her backside, then back again, like goats watching cassava leaves sway. And when she left, they would call Jehu closer and whisper with hungry voices, "That girl, your niece, she is ripe and she will be very sweet. Jehu, if only you know what men would pay for her. Allow me small access. I will reward you well." Nonsense words, shameless words, but Jehu listened, because their eyes were saying the same thing their mouths refused to shout. Norma was beautiful, too beautiful for a greedy man like Jehu to ignore. And that was when something wicked grew inside him. A thought, a plan, a way to use her beauty for profit. He told himself he had suffered too much, fed her, housed her, trained her. Why should all these investments go to waste? So Jehu acted on his thoughts. He hired a maid specifically for Norma, someone to bath her, dress her, oil her skin, brush her hair, make her look fresh, healthy, and appealing. He locked her in the house, yes, locked her in like a prisoner. And then he began. He used her body to entertain his wealthy young buyers. One by one, night after night, they paid him handsomely and slept with her. He counted the money proudly every night. He boasted in private that he had finally found gold. Gold that gave him more money than yams. But Norma, she was in pain. Her heart was filled with sorrow and totally shattered. She cried. She screamed. She begged. Jehu would beat her up mercilessly when she cried. He would beat her up when she resisted. He would beat her even harder when she tried to fight back. She was just a girl, a 17-year-old child being treated like a commodity. Meanwhile, Jehu's own daughters danced at moonlight festivals, their skin glowing, their wrappers neat, their feet soft. They wore fine clothes, went to school, played without fear, and Jehu ensured he protected them. He never allowed any man near them. Norma, poor Norma. She was the goat tied behind the house, the sacrifice he offered to strangers, the thing he pushed forward while protecting his own children. One day, after enduring too much, Norma tried to run. She gathered courage and strength. She gathered whatever hope remained inside her broken heart. But Jehu caught her even before she got far. He dragged her back by her hair like a sack of yam. That day he beat the hell out of her until she could no longer cry, until she wished she had never been born. "I cannot suffer for nothing," he shouted. "You dare try to run. So this is how you repay me for giving you shelter all these years." His words pierced deeper than the whip. In that moment, Norma understood something that shaped her entire life. She was alone. Nobody cared about her. Nobody will fight for her. Nobody will save her. So, she had to learn to fight for herself. That day, a seed of hardness grew in her chest. A seed that would one day turn into that iron. Years rolled by in Umweri, heavy and unforgiving, pressing themselves into Norma's bones. She had grown from a frightened girl into a young woman who carried pain the way others carried water pots. Her eyes were older than her age. Her heart was scarred beyond repair. And Jehu continued to use her, night after night, man after man, tears after tears, until the night everything changed. A wealthy young buyer arrived, the kind of man whose belly entered the room before the rest of his body. He talked loudly, laughed like thunder, and behaved as if every girl in the world had been created specifically for his pleasure. Jehu welcomed him warmly. "Ah, my good friend, relax, eat, drink." He turned sharply. "Nama, come and serve him." Nama's stomach knotted, but she walked forward anyway. What choice did she have? Her life was not her own. The man's eyes followed her every move. He licked his lips. He smiled in a way that made her skin crawl. When Jehu stepped out to collect something, the man reached out and grabbed her buttocks roughly. "Come," he said softly, pulling her towards the room. Nama froze. Her breath caught. Her heart pounded. She shook her head desperately. "No, please, not today." But the man laughed. "Are you not a prostitute? Is it not what you do for a living? Come on, stop pretending." He tightened his grip. At that moment, something inside Nama snapped. How dare he call her a prostitute? Her hand shot out before she even realized it. She grabbed the knife lying beside the roasted yam and stabbed him, not deep enough to kill him, but deep enough to loosen his grip on her. Deep enough to make him scream like a frightened child. Deep enough for everyone to come running. Jehu rushed out, eyes wide, Koboko raised high in the air. "What have you done, you stupid girl?" he roared. He charged towards her. But this time, Nama did not tremble. She did not cry, she did not run. She stood still, breathing hard, knife still shaking in her hand. Her eyes met Jehu's, and for the first time since she entered his house, he saw something terrifying. Strength, defiance, a fire he did not ignite, a girl he could no longer control. Her shoulders were squared, her tears had dried, her voice did not shake. She was not the helpless child he used to drag by the hair. She had become something else, something dangerous. Jehu froze. His arm trembled, the koboko lowered just a little. He saw it clearly. The girl he abused, the girl he broke, the girl he sold. She was gone. In her place stood a young woman with nothing left to lose. Jehu took one step back, just one, but that was enough. That night, Nama quietly packed her clothes, her small savings, her dignity, what little remained of it, her hardened heart, her fierce courage, and she walked out of Jehu's compound. Nobody stopped her, not the wife who hated her, not the daughters who mocked her, not the neighbors who saw her as dirt. She walked into the night, alone, but she was free. And that was how she rented the small hut there, at the edge of the village. A hut quiet by day and dangerous by night. Nama had decided that she didn't want to get married, no. In her world, love does not exist. All men wanted was pleasure, and she would make sure they paid through their nose to get it. She didn't care if they were married or not. As long as they had money to pay her, she was cool with it. Yes, pleasuring men was one skill her uncle had taught her so well. Sometimes, she wondered if she would have turned out any different if her mother was alive, and what exactly she would be. Soon, the men of Umueri learned the path to her heart. Once one man had a taste of her honey pot. That thing they claimed was sweeter than anything. He would whisper to his brother or friend, and before you know it, Nama's hut became popular without advertisement. Norma transformed herself into a woman they were afraid to acknowledge publicly, but secretly longed for. They could not get enough of her honeypot. She set her price high and refused to bargain. If you could not afford her, step aside. If you wanted respect, go back home. She was nobody's charity and nobody's shame except her own. Inside her heart, she ruled alone. No madam, no middleman, no chains. And her beauty intensified. She smelled of luxury, the type men could never buy for their wives. She carried herself with a confidence that unsettled the village women. Even when they insulted her, she returned their fire with silence, even though one sentence from her could silence an entire compound. Even though her tongue was sharp enough to peel their pride clean. Still, she kept quiet, reserving her words for the right time. Norma was beauty wrapped in danger, a storm with waist beads, a woman who owned her choices with pride and refused to bow to anyone. But beneath the fine wrappers, the powdered skin, beneath the perfect posture and icy jokes, lived a loneliness she never admitted. She had survived too much to trust anyone. She had learned too early that the world loved her body but ignored her soul. Still, she held her head high and reigned without apology. Soon the village women could not take it anymore. Every night, their husbands would sneak out and they knew where they were all going to. Norma's hut. Some of these men would not even take proper care of their family, but wouldn't mind spending all their money on Norma. They insulted her publicly, threw words at her, but she never replied or even seemed to flinch, which always made the women crazy. One day, one bold woman decided to confront her. If others were going to keep quiet, then she wouldn't. She used to be happily married before Norma came out of nowhere. It happened one hot afternoon when the sun was angry enough to fry yam on bare sand. Norma was outside her hut grinding pepper gracefully, her waist beats jingling lightly with each movement. Then she heard it. Where is that useless girl? Where is that shameless daughter of disgrace? A voice so loud that even the birds paused mid-flight. Norma did not turn. She continued grinding slowly, deliberately. The pepper stone moved like she was massaging her own anger. Mama Ngozi stormed into the compound, her wrapper flying, her chest heaving. Her head tie already shifted to one side, a clear sign that Wahala had clocked in for the day. You slept with my husband, she screamed. Norma finally raised her head, slowly, gracefully. Like a queen disturbed from rest. Oh, your husband, she said, wiping her hands calmly. You will need to be specific. You know, I don't memorize men who come here crawling like puppies. The crowd that had gathered gasped. Someone at the back whispered, "Oh, gods of our land." Ngozi's eyes bulged. Norma, you are calling my husband a puppy? Norma smiled sweetly. No, auntie, I said crawling like a puppy. Please listen well. The crawling part is very important. Mama Ngozi charged forward, but Norma stepped aside effortlessly as if moving away from dust. Listen to me, you prostitute, Mama Ngozi shouted. Stay away from my husband. I said stay away from my husband. Norma folded her arms, tilted her head and replied, I would, but unfortunately, he comes here by himself, at night, quietly, wearing the same wrapper you tied down. Very embarrassing fashion choice, by the way. The crowd burst into laughter. Mama Ngozi choked. You will not insult me. But you came here to insult me, Norma replied, blinking innocently. Are we not exchanging gifts? Amangozi raised her hand to slap her. Nama did not move. Her voice dropped to a cold, low tone. One slap, and I will shout your husband's secret so loudly that your children will stop answering his name. Do you want that? I'm sure you don't want everyone to know how tiny his manhood is. It isn't even worth fighting for, she scoffed. There was silence. Even the leaves stopped rustling. Nama stepped closer, her voice soft but sharper than broken glass. Your problem is not me. Your problem is the man you married. A man whose stain would never stay peacefully between his legs. A man who leaves his home at night to crawl into mine. Amangozi trembled. Nama smiled and tapped her cheek lightly. Go home, auntie. Fix your home. I am not your carpenter. At this point, Amangozi turned and ran. Not to walk though. She ran out of the compound, dragging her wrapper like someone fleeing from spiritual danger. Her face was covered with shame. As she ran, she regretted ever going to Norma. Norma returned to her pepper grinding with the same calmness she started with. The crowd dispersed, buzzing with excitement and anger. And just like that, the legend of Norma's wicked mouth grew 10 times stronger. Years rolled over Umuri like stubborn waves, and with each passing season, Norma's name spread wider than palm wine gossip. She had become a legend, the wrong kind, of course, the kind that made women clutch their wrappers tightly and warn their husbands with suspicious eyes, the kind that made old men shake their heads and mutter proverb after proverb that solved absolutely nothing. But she didn't care. If the villagers liked, they could hiss. If they liked, they could spit. In fact, some women even upgraded to spitting several times for emphasis when she passed. Yet Norma still walked past all of them with the elegance of a queen whose crown they could not see. Her beauty no longer surprised Umweri, it frightened them. Then, one quiet evening, Prince Cassie, disguised in plain clothing and wandering from the palace, walked through the narrow path leading to the village stream. He loved exploring unknown places, especially without guards. He said it made him feel like a real human being and not a walking title. But that evening, he was not prepared for what he saw. Nama appeared from the bend in the path, a clay pot balanced perfectly on her head. Her wrapper hugged her figure, as if it owed her loyalty. Her hips moved with power, confidence, and the kind of rhythm that could make a drum jealous. Her steps were bold, her eyes fierce, her face carved in a way that made the dying sun pause to admire her. Even the wind slowed down. Men on the path stopped mid-conversation, mouths hanging open. Women hissed and spit loudly, doing their best to stay in the moment. But Nama walked forward, untouchable. Prince Cassier froze, his feet rooted to the ground, his breath caught in his throat. He stared, not like a lustful man, but like someone seeing magic for the first time. Why does she walk like a queen, he wondered silently, when everyone clearly hates her? Nama felt his eyes before she even saw him. She turned her head slightly and their gazes collided. Fire met curiosity, eyes met warmth. Two worlds collided in one silent moment. But then she looked away first. Norma, the girl who never bowed. The girl who never respected any man's presence. The girl who stared boldly at anyone who dared stare at her. She broke eye contact before he did. Cassie's heartbeat stumbled. Something shifted inside him. Something wild, unfamiliar and consuming. But to Norma, he was just another man staring. Another man whose footsteps might lead to her heart one night. Nothing special, nothing new. She walked past him without greeting, without slowing, without caring whether he existed. But Cassie stood still, watching her retreating figure with wide, astonished eyes. He had never seen her before, not in the palace, not in the village gatherings, not among the women seeking royal attention. And that mystery drew him like a magnet. It was not just her body of beauty that pulled him. It was the fire. A fire that made her look like a woman who had survived war and still dared to walk with pride. Cassie exhaled shakily. I just found myself a wife. I must marry her, he whispered to himself. That night, sleep packed its bags and left Prince Cassier alone. He tossed, turned, sighed. He even drank warm water the palace maids insisted would calm his spirits. Nothing worked, because the face of the maiden from the stream refused to leave his mind. Her beauty had struck him first, but it was something deeper that held him hostage. A shadow in her eyes, a tightness in her jaw, a pain she carried boldly, almost proudly, as if daring the world to ask her why. He had quietly asked around the village, pretending to be a curious traveler, and the response he got caught him like a blade. She is a prostitute, a public dustbin, if that's one alone. She is a disgrace to Umwiri. She has slept with half the men in this village. Cassier's chest tightened. The responses he got hurt him deeply. Still, he wanted her. Even more. Something about her refused to let him go. So, Cassier did the only thing a stubborn prince with so much curiosity would do. He returned to the stream the next morning, but she was not there. He kept on returning, but she was nowhere to be found. Finally, one warm evening, he gathered the courage and followed the narrow path that led to her hut. The infamous place no righteous man dared approach while the sun still shone. Nama was shocked when she saw him. She glared at him like one who sees trouble approaching. "What do you want?" she asked rudely. I came to talk with you. And what if I don't want to talk? I don't talk to strangers, she snapped. It's me, the man from 1 round is 100 coins. Would you rather talk or we get into business? Cassie's heart dropped. He couldn't even find the right words to say. She hissed loudly and walked back in. Still, he returned, day after day. One evening, he stood outside, heart racing, hands trying not to tremble. Today, he had made up his mind to tell her how he felt about her. He knocked. "Who is disturbing my peace?" Norma shouted from inside. "It's me, Cassie." There was silence, then footsteps, slow, threatening, warning the visitor to flee while he still had shoes. Norma opened the door with a sharp push. Her wrapper was tied tightly around her waist, her hair glistened from freshly applied oil, her eyes glowing with suspicion and annoyance. "What do you want again?" she demanded. Cassie swallowed. "I came to tell you something." She folded her arms. "Say it quickly. I don't have time for market noise." "I love you," Cassie blurted out. Norma stared at him. Then she burst into the most mocking laughter the village had ever heard. You love me," she repeated, holding her stomach. "Ah, wonders shall never end. Listen, young man, go home. Go and toast girls your age. Leave maidens like me alone. I do not do small boys, and I don't belong to any man. I am not a small boy," he said. She stepped closer, squinting at him. Do you even have chest hair? Cassie coughed. Chest hair is not a proof of. Please, shift, she cut in. He smiled despite himself. I came because my heart insists. Your heart should mind its business, she snapped. And you, stop coming here. I will pour hot water on you the next time I see you here. Most men would have left in shame, but Cassie didn't move. He simply smiled again softly, like her insult with sweet palm wine. Then, get your hot water ready, because I won't stop coming, he said calmly. She blinked in disbelief. Are you mad? He shrugged. Possibly. She tried to slam the door, but he gently held the frame. I won't stop coming until you listen to me. Norma's eyes narrowed, flames dancing behind them. But even as she pushed the door shut, she felt something strange in her chest. Annoyance, confusion, and something she refused to name. After that day, something strange began to grow in quiet spaces between Norma's anger and Cassie's persistence. He did not stop coming. While others would wait till night to hide and come, Prince Cassie visited in broad daylight. Morning, afternoon, evening, he was at Norma's hut. At first, Norma would insult, threaten, and curse at him, but her words didn't move him. Instead, he kept on telling her how much he loved her and cared about her. I'm not like other men. I see through you, he would always say to her. And one day, after she shut the door on him angrily, Prince Cassius sat on a flat stone beside her hut, not too close, not too far, so she could hear him sing. And there he sang, a very touching love song that touched Norma's bones. No man had ever sung for her before. The wording awoke something in her, and even after he left, the song didn't stop ringing in her ears. Neither did his smiling face leave her. That night, she realized something. Cassie was a presence she could not ignore. And so, she decided to slow down a bit. She no longer shouted whenever he came around. She no longer insulted him. She would just sit by her door and listen to him sing for her. And from there, they began having little conversations. Not foolish conversations, like the men who threw coins at her. Not conversations about her body or her price or her secrets. Real conversations. Cassie really wanted to know her. Wanted to know what she liked, what made her happy, and what she would have loved to do differently. These were questions Norma never wanted to answer. But she couldn't deny the innocence in his voice. So, she answered anyway. And Prince Cassia listened attentively. Every of her response broke his heart. And he realized that other than what people saw, Norma was a girl that was broken. They both didn't even know when they became friends. Norma never had a friend in her entire life, but Prince Cassie just knew how to make her feel things. He gave her a shoulder she could lean on, was never ashamed to be seen with her. He would visit her with royal delicacies, and they would both sit under the tree in front of her hut, sharing the meal and laughing loudly as they threw jokes at each other. Cassie was in love, and the same love was breaking Norma. The hard girl of Omueri was softening. One day, she stood before the mirror in her room and stared at herself. Something about her had changed, and they scared the hell out of her. Prince Cassie was creeping into her heart. No man ever cared about her thoughts. No man ever wanted her. No man ever looked at her with softness. His kind of kindness frightened her. Yes, it felt good, so good, but she was really scared. His gentleness felt like a doorway she was not ready to open. Could this be a trick, she thought to herself? A trap? a danger far worse than any night's customer. As she stood there, tears trickled down her eyes. She had built a wall around her all these years to protect herself. Let the villagers continue seeing her as who she was, but she would never allow anyone break that wall. She needed to stop seeing the prince. So that evening, he came in his usual cheerful mood, but what he met was something he didn't expect. "You have to stop coming here," she said. "I don't love you. I can't love you. In fact, I hate you so much that the thought of you disgusts me. Get out now and never return." Prince Cassius stood there staring at her, dumbfounded. What had come over her suddenly? He thought they had become friends. "Get out!" she shouted louder. "You are disturbing my peace. I don't want your friendship. I don't want anything from you." He looked at her one last time, his face filled with pain. "Norma, I don't know what came over you, but I love you. I truly love you, and I won't stop loving you. Neither will I stop visiting until you change your mind." His words made her heart switch, and she hated that feeling. He dropped the gifts he had come with, and she watched him leave sadly with his shoulders slumped. Fresh hot tears gathered in her eyes. Prince Cassius kept to his promise. He kept returning to Norma's hut day after day, and always with a small gift in hand. Jewelries, fresh fruits, new wrappers. Yet Norma never opened her door, not once. She waited until his footsteps faded, then quietly stepped outside. She would stare at the gift lying gently on the ground, her eyes filling with tears she refused to understand. Why was he doing this? Why her? Why this kindness after everything she had done to him? She would wipe her eyes roughly and whisper, "If this is real, then I don't deserve this." Yet, she never threw the gifts away, she cherished them. Back at the palace, Cassius' constant disappearances began to stir gossip among the servants. Whispers turned into rumors, rumors turned into alarm. It flew into Queen Ugo's ears. Her own son had been going to the hut of that maiden, the shame of Umuiri, the forest prostitute. That morning, the queen dropped her staff and collapsed onto her wooden seat, clutching her chest. "No, not my son, not the heir to this kingdom." She summoned him immediately. Cassie entered the royal chamber calmly, but the queen rose to her feet with fire in her eyes. "Cassie," she shouted, "is it true? Are you truly going to that disgrace, that prostitute that lives at the edge of the village?" Cassie remained silent. "Answer me!" "Yes, mother," he said simply. "I go to her." Queen Ugo staggered backward as if struck. "Ah! Cassie, why? Why a prostitute? You could have many virgins in this village if you so desire. Why must it be her? No, no, you will not bring disgrace into this palace," she screamed. "Over my dead body will the soon-to-be king of this land continue seeing that abomination?" Cassius' jaw tightened. "Do not speak about her like that." The queen gasped. "Hey, I am finished. Have you lost your senses? She is filled, a curse. She is human," Cassius snapped. "More human than half the people who pretend to have honor in this kingdom. I love her, mother." Queen Ugo's voice shook with fury. "Love? You are a royalty, and you won't stoop that low. She will destroy you. She will drag this entire royal family in the mud." Cassius stepped closer. "You can't tell me who to love, mother. I am a grown man, and I will go where my spirit leads," he said firmly. "Your spirit is leading you to ruin, Cassie. Then let me ruin myself," he replied quietly. The queen stared at him, her chest rising and falling with pure anger. This is war, Cassie. I will not lose my son to a woman like that. Cassie bowed his head slightly, then turned and walked out. He didn't look back. By sunset, the entire village was buzzing. Rumors had spread through Umweri like wildfire. The prince is visiting a prostitute. She has charmed him. She wants to enter the palace. Queen Ugo, still sitting with fury, snapped like thunder. She summoned the women leader. That girl has done enough, she thundered. She uses charms on men. My son has lost his mind because of whatever she puts between her legs. How can a prince tell me to my face that he is in love with a prostitute? Her chest heaved. Gather the women, she commanded. Attack her. Beat her up. Destroy her heart. This lad must be cleansed of her filth. Make sure she never survives it. Night fell, and the angry wives gathered like a hurricane. They stormed Norma's hut with sticks and stones, shouting curses. She barely opened her door before they descended on her. They beat her without mercy, tore her wrappers, smashed her pots, destroyed everything she owned, dragged her out and set her hut on fire as heavy canes and blows continued landing on her. Norma lay on the ground, bleeding, shaking, too stunned to cry as she was surrounded by angry women. Then a loud voice caught through the air. Stop! Cassie's voice tore through the chaos. He ran into the circle of women and dropped to his knees beside her. When a woman lifted a stick to strike again, he spread his arms wide and shielded Norma with his own body. The women froze. The prince kneeling in the dirt, protecting a woman everyone despised. Norma stared at him, confused, trembling. No man had ever stood for her. Men used her, paid her, beat her, blamed her. But no man had ever risked a blow for her sake. Cassie did. It broke something deep inside her, something she did not know still existed. That night, when the attackers finally scattered and the smoke settled around her ruined hut, Norma lay quietly in Cassie's arms. And for the first time since she lost her innocence, she cried, truly cried. Cassie carried Norma away from the shattered remains of her hut, his arms trembling not from weakness but from fear of losing her. He took her to an old healer who lived far from the village, a quiet place where angry wives could not reach and gossip had no power. The healer cleaned her wounds gently while Cassie sat at her bedside, refusing to blink. Norma, I will stay here with you. I will help you heal, he whispered. Something in his voice, soft, broken, pleading, touched her in places she had tried so hard to bury. That night, as Prince Cassius slept by her side, Norma's trauma rose like a wild storm. She didn't deserve to be loved. She was unlovable. She could not imagine any man wanting her, really wanting her, without taking something in return. She was a prostitute, and no matter how clean he wanted her to appear, that could not be changed. So she ran. She slipped out of the hut before dawn, limped into the bushes, and tried to disappear from his world. But her leg was injured, and she couldn't go far. Cassie found her sitting under a tree, hugging her knees and shaking. He didn't shout, didn't scold her. He simply knelt in front of her. Come back, he said softly, and she broke. Tears spilled before she could stop them. Why are you being kind to me? You are a prince, she cried, her voice cracking. You risked your life for me. You left your throne for me. I am everything the villagers say I am. A filthy, cursed woman. You can't be with a filthy woman like me. I am a woman whose nakedness the whole world has seen. I don't deserve someone with a pure soul like you. Cassie reached for her hand, but she pulled back. He tried again, slower, gentler, and this time she let him. Let me be the judge of that, he said quietly. None of us is perfect. We all have our past. A past we wish we could burn. I am not different from you. Norma, I love you. I don't care about your past shame once you are willing to turn a new leaf. I see your heart. Just allow me into it. Those words, they shook her. Her lips trembled, her chest tightened painfully. Because this man, this prince was offering her something no one had offered. A choice, a worth, love. She took a long breath. For the first time in her life, she spoke about her past, all of it. The childhood pain, the first night Jehu forced himself on her, the threats, the beatings, the customers, the way her innocence died in silence. As she spoke, the prince's eyes glistened. When she described her uncle's wickedness, tears finally rolled down his cheeks. That man deserves death, he cursed, his face hardening for the first time. I will make sure he pays for what he did to you. Then, his countenance softened. Norma, he whispered, you survived hell. You are a strong woman. I want you to know that I never judged you for once. She wanted to laugh. She wanted to scream. She wanted to collapse. Instead, she fell forward. Cassie caught her instantly, wrapping his arms around her, holding her as if the world would disappear if he let her go. Her head rested on his chest. His cheeks rested on her hair. And for the first time since she was 7, Norma felt safe. Weeks passed gently. Norma's wounds healed, her strength returned, and the darkness in her chest finally loosened its grip. One morning, Prince Cassius took her hand and said, "It is time." He brought her to the palace. The guards stared, the servants froze. The elders gathered immediately, their eyes wide, their beards shaking like troubled birds. "That woman cannot enter this palace," one elder barked. "She is a stain on our land," sputtered another. "A prince cannot marry a disgrace." Queen Ugo stepped forward, her voice trembling with rage. "Cassie, this is madness, and this madness ends today. She is not fit to be queen." The villagers who gathered outside the gates cackled loudly. A prostitute becoming queen? In which lifetime? Even the ancestors will faint. I wonder what she must have given to the prince. She will turn this whole palace into a brothel. But Cassie did not flinch. Instead, he led Norma to the palace square, instructed the town crier to gather the villagers, and standing before the entire kingdom, he raised his voice. "Yes," he began, "Norma was a prostitute." Gasp burst through the crowd. "But tell me, who were her customers? Were they spirits?" There was silence, thick, heavy, accusing silence. Cassie stepped closer. "No woman becomes a prostitute without customers. So before you judge her, come out. Anyone who claims to be better, anyone who claims they have no past they regret." No one moved, not even a single soul. Cassie's voice grew stronger. "I choose Norma, not her past, not her shame, not her wounds. I choose the woman she has become. I love her, and no one can change that. This woman you see was not born a prostitute. She was a product of a failed family, a failed society. So do not stand there and judge her, or you will have me to contend with. Norma trembled beside him. Her heart cracked open, releasing years of buried pain. For the first time in her life, she believed she was worth loving, worth fighting for. Queen Ugo's anger slowly melted. Her eyes softened. Her shoulders fell. She had never seen her son this way. And in front of the kingdom, she whispered, "Forgive me, my son. Welcome, Norma." The villagers, who moments ago spat her name like poison, began to murmur new words. The prince sees something in her. This girl has survived so much. She deserves a chance. The tide turned. Norma's uncle Jiku was dragged before the chiefs. Her story came out, the abuse, the exploitation, the years of torment. The kingdom erupted into outrage. He was banished from Umwiri with his entire family, stripped of his land, wealth, and honor. A fitting end for the man who had stolen the childhood of an innocent girl. And then, one bright morning, filled with drums and sunlight, Norma stood beside Prince Kasi as the royal crown was placed upon her head. Not because of her beauty, not because of her body, not because of her past, but because she finally allowed love to enter her heart and free her from the chains that bound her. The royal drums thundered, the villagers cheered, the ancestors smiled. Norma lifted her chin, shoulders high, eyes glowing with peace. She was finally seen, finally free, finally loved. Hey besties, we've come to the end of this amazing story and I hope you enjoyed it as much as you enjoyed making it. I would love you to share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you love our stories and you're yet to subscribe to our channel, please do not skip this video without hitting on the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that you get notified whenever we post new stories. Thank you so much for all your love and support. They mean so much to me. Right now, I have to go and see you in our next story.